I'm gonna be honest, at this point in time, as weird as it might sound, I'm really liking the maid character. Might be one of my favorite characters in this show right now, next to Katarina. I don't have like this super logical and like deep reason as to why, but this episode, it made me really happy. A little sad at certain moments, obviously with the kind of sad backstory, losing everything in a fire, basically being called damaged goods by the person who is supposed to treat you the best. It's like, there's something about this episode and the idea of kind of like going over this black hole harem that we all know what it is, but it's kind of fun to see the maid kind of give the, like, hey, yeah, 100% this shit's insane, going over every character that we know how they feel, but the fact that it didn't feel like a recap, but rather they were showing events that we haven't seen before as she was explaining all of their desires, it just made for a really compelling episode. And then as you get into the sleepover content, that's pretty much what you expect from a Otome game. Something simple, something a little cute and adorable, but the fact that they tie it together to a sweeter story to them after the credits, supposedly setting up something that's a little more dramatic. At this point in time, it's hard to tell that if they're actually going to commit to that, if it's actually going to be dramatic, if there's actually going to be some story there that's actually going to push her back against a wall, or if it's going to be very easily resolved. It's hard to say, but still, I'd say this was a pretty fantastic episode of Otome game, one of the more entertaining ones over the past few weeks for sure, at least for me. I like an idea that is very simple by design. It's actually quite common for pretty much any anime to have some sort of character that isn't the main character, sometimes it is the main character, but pretty much go over what we know, and that's usually how they do recap episodes, and I honestly thought we were getting one at the beginning when the maid started talking about everything that was happening, but once I start really seeing what they're going for, the fact that they're showing all these characters that, yes, some of the dialogue was like, well, yeah, of course that's how they feel, why are you telling us? But then giving us new content that we haven't seen in just really cute moments, it was nice to kind of just like sit back and see, damn, this harem, it's definitely unmatched. No harem can compare, at least as of right now, and I kind of got the sneaking suspicion watching this episode that the maid was going to join the harem to some degree. Little did I know it was already joined and the harem was stronger than we really realize. Maybe not to the same degree of thirst that the other characters have, but the fact that the only birthday present she's gotten and the first birthday present she ever got was this nice little box that Katarina gave to her, the fact that Katarina as a kid saved her from basically having to marry some shitty person because her shitty father told her so. And yeah, you might be able to argue, well, yeah, you know, she was a lot older than she was a kid, so maybe it's more of like a mother nurturing role. Sure, it doesn't matter though at this point in time. This harem has proved time and time again it does not discriminate, and it feels like if some character comes into contact with her, it's probably going to join the black hole harem at some point in time. Granted, you can argue at the end of the episode, it looks like there's some bad apples that are trying to shake her down, so maybe the harem isn't as strong as we thought, maybe it caused some storm in the distance, but I mean, a good conflict always goes a long way for a show such as this. There's something really interesting about this episode, the fact that it kind of felt like it was trying to be a recap episode, but then actually showing us this really interesting character who honestly had a pretty tragic backstory without being so sappy that it felt like it was too forced for what they're going for. Like, you have the scar and you're like, okay, I wonder what happened there. I wonder if, like, maybe Katarina saved her and that's why she's so indebted to her. But then there's like, oh, okay. The fact that you literally were just taught to be a mindless servant, and then even though you did everything that you should, you're tossed away because of a fire you couldn't control. Screw society, screw nobility, and the fact that she came into contact with Katarina before she became a good person, the character that we've come to know. It was really nice to see the difference in her opinion, as if, you know, this is how I was raised, I'm an object, I'm a tool, this horrible spoiled brat is going to use me and toss me around, but that's what I'm good for, bump on the head, what the hell am I supposed to do? She treats everyone so flawlessly. It's a good story hook, it honestly is, and even though we know obviously that's how she is, that's how she was before, it's nice to see someone on a lower scale than a lot of these other characters, because all the people who have like fallen in love with her or just love her to in some degree, be it a family role to something more romantic, they're all nobility, they're all higher up for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part. So it's nice to see a maid, someone who is literally low class to most nobility. If a maid was to speak their opinion around a prince or someone with a lot of money and power, they could get killed, they could be beaten and bruised to the point they couldn't work anymore. This is a very dangerous society, it is. Even though we're seeing a lot of good characters, we know what Katarina's character was supposed to be. And I love that because you really get to see the transition and evolution in such a short time period. And it was nice to see how much she truly cares, because it wasn't until near the very end of her little section of the episode where you're like, okay, she really is happy, because the way she was talking, the way she was acting, it seemed more like a maid who was observing and just kind of stating the obvious. Like, I just don't get it. Like, why is this character so, like, she's so dense, she's so clueless, and all these characters just love her so much? And then you get to see the smiles, you get to see some of the flashbacks, and it is just so sweet and innocent. And it reminds us why we like this show so much, that yeah, there's gonna be some heartache for this character for sure, but at the same time, it's just so wholesome to see a harem that doesn't feel so artificially produced just so the fans can argue and bash their head to say which trope do they prefer and who should she love. Rather, we have this girl who you understand every step of the way why characters fall in love or just highly respect her, why this maid treats her so well, why she's so devoted, why she has no interest in getting married, because one, she was trying to be forced into marriage, and if she ever does want it, she should naturally find that herself. But two, the character, the person that has helped her so much, why would she want to leave her side? She would want to stick by her every step of the way. And obviously, this is someone who she could get married and still work for Katarina. Katarina isn't going to be the character to say, hey, you're spoiled goods or something like that. But still, it's great to see what they were building up to, and that slumber party was adorable, because you literally have characters saying, hey, you know, I'd want to exchange dresses and do all this, and Katarina, being the dense, clueless, lovable idiot she is, like, oh, like you would do that with a boy? Who says it has to be a boy? This girl! We've seen her for how many episodes now, and she still says the same clueless shit, and it still cracks me up, or brings a giant grin to my face, because it is so wholesomely adorable and ridiculous. And honestly, I haven't grown sick of it in the slightest. I'm actually really interested to see what they're gonna pull with the end of the episode, because it was a little dramatic, and even though literally it was just like 2 seconds, they could easily play it off as something funny, or it could be something very serious that's gonna last episodes. But it doesn't change the fact that this was a pretty wholesome episode with a slight dramatic sprinkle here and there. And all it does is reaffirm that, like, goddamn, I feel bad for Giordo. Like, yeah, there's definitely looks that he gives to characters that seem a little menacing and controlling and manipulative, but the poor boy put so much thought into the gift that he was going to give her. God, engravings and the shears, like, he didn't go jewelry, he went exactly what she wanted, and they all did it because they all know her and they all love her. This show is precious. It really is. Like, honestly, you can strip down everything that an episode like this does. Pretty much every episode in this show, it is pretty basic by design. You have a maid who had a pretty shitty life, worked for a spoiled brat, she bumped her head, and she treated her well, and she got her gifts, and that's why she doesn't want to abandon her. There's sweet moments like how she still tucks her back in, because she knows she kicks off the blankets every night. You have the whole Giordo situation, and just all the characters just buying her shears and just the sleepovers. The boy talk, which is so adorable that I wasn't expecting, especially from certain characters. Really excited for it. It is pretty basic by design, but the fact that the show knows what it's doing and it's not hiding it and just wants the simplicity to be right in your face so it can explore the characters in a deep enough way that we respect them, not as like potential romantic interest, but as people that we actually like. The way they light up, the way they react, the way they crush in sorrow. I mean, Giordo's face at the end, my man. He was so disappointed, but he just expects the torment at this point in time. I love this show. It is so good. I haven't grown sick of it in the slightest. I've enjoyed every single episode, and even like last week, it wasn't the funniest episode to me, but I still highly respected it. This is a show that knows what it's doing, it's confident in what it's doing, and the way the voice actors get into it, Katarina is still my favorite voice acting performance because she is so dense, you believe the actress who's actually performing this is really real. This character is real. She is this dense, and it's not someone reading a script trying to act clueless. She is clueless when she's reading this script, and it is so flawless. And even though this doesn't really blow you away visually, it's such a gorgeous looking show just at a static level, and when they do light it up, it feels so romantic, but you also know this is Katarina, so it's not going to be all that romantic, and I mean, it's just pretty glorious for that alone. The one thing I'm really interested about with the Otome game is if it is going to get a season 2, because yes, it's popular, yes, the source material is probably popular as well, but at the same time, if they do a season 2, are we going to get into more serious territory? Is there going to be more focus on the doom flags that are actually going to happen? Because we know we avoided the main ones that she basically has built into a harem, but she's in a new route she doesn't understand. So I'm wondering if what's going to start happening with the remainder of the season is, are they going to set in motion more of a story rather than just the casual day-to-day farming slice of life adventure that she's had up until this point? Please no spoilers, I'm just thinking about it, wondering like what would they do in a season 2? What would they do with the remainder of this season? Because it's been pretty comfy and fun with no real dramatic elements to it, despite the slight bump here and there. So I'm really curious, because if they do decide to really commit with that cliffhanger in this episode and really start propelling it and showing more doom and potential, it'd be interesting to see what her harem would do to aid her and support her, because would she really get exiled and killed? Probably not with the harem that she's built, but there would be that potential with new elements she didn't see coming. So that's going to be pretty fun to see what they're going to pull with that, because I hope they do commit to a more serious plotline down the line. I'm loving what I'm seeing, but eventually you would have to try something different, and there is so much potential with being in a completely new arc that she has no idea about because she didn't play it up until that point before she got isekai'd. So I'm really hoping they do commit to that sooner rather than later, but only time will tell. This was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure everyone will like it as much as me, because this isn't really an episode that did a whole lot, but it just hit that note that I was personally looking for out of side characters, and just kind of exploring certain themes and ideas that were just, I think, needed in this show, especially now that we're seemingly getting into some more serious territory. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What did you think? What are you thinking of the maid as a character overall? Whatever you're feeling, do let me know. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, share your support. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.